Afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I'm very excited to have with us a guest from Nigeria, Olajumoke Toriola. Ola, it's a huge pleasure to have you with us today.
The pleasure is mine also. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good everything for wherever you are.
Wherever you are, wherever you live, or whenever you're watching this, because it might be on tape. So,
Right.
God, that's old. It might be on a video MP4.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it might be on tape. Don't forget to rewind. My name is Jay Lees. Craig, it's a pleasure to be with you as always. Today is actually April 20th. I think today is Earth Day, right?
I do not know. I know yesterday was. I know the 18th was Velociraptor Day. My kids were excited about it. I don't know why it was Velociraptor Day. Who knew they had one? But
oh
it
boy,
could be Earth Day.
I remember you sent me that picture, and I laughed because dinosaurs. But I think it's become just a joke to see what day we can make people outside of our house celebrate. So, Ola, do you guys celebrate Velociraptor Day?
No. We don't have the luxury of so much of holidays that you guys celebrate and all of that. We don't have that.
That's fair. Well, Ola, apologies. We sometimes get off on tangents. So you are, I was pulling from your profile. You are the CTO of Hashem Limited. You're a mentor, a motivational speaker. You're a SME in M365, Exchange, PVA, Power Virtual Agents, and Adoption. You're an MVP. You do a lot in this space, huh?
Not actually trade of all jack, not jack of all trade. I mean, so yes, I do a lot, but I'm not jack of all trade. So I tend sometimes to be more specific and to follow through with some particular technology, with specific technologies. But then I'll say because of my background and what I started with, so I grew along with a lot of this technology. I mean, I started my career with Microsoft Exchange, so it's pretty what I started with. And then that's why you have me being a smear on Exchange and then Power Virtual Agents. It's like a baby to me because I think that is the only thing that makes me feel a bit of a developer when it comes to the Power Platform because I can get myself around that. So that's just what I do around it,
That's awesome. It's good to have something that makes you passionate about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It makes making it through the day a lot easier.
Yes, it does. So outside of work, you also are a mentor in the community we talked about. You help run the MCT NIJA M365 user group. And you also, and I really appreciate this, you also mentor and coach young women in IT with TechStylers. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you got started in IT? You said you started in Exchange, and why mentoring young women in IT is so important to you.
Okay. All right, that's a very good one. So I get to hear a lot. When did you start your IT journey, and how was it like when you started? So I think I'm pretty much used to this question. So I'll say I've been in IT for the past 17 years. I started right from 2005, February to be specific. Immediately I finished my last paper in school. I think the next week I was just asked to start work, and I work with Hashem Limited, a good certified partner. Actually, Hashem was started with a group of 3 women. My late sister happens to be one of them. So, so immediately I finished school, I just moved into Hashem and I started doing my work in IT. I started with, I look at what was, I mean, I had the option of should I go do programming, or should I go through some other thing, or maybe networking. But I think I went to a show, I mean, a seminar, so to say, and I saw Microsoft Exchange 2007. I could remember very well vividly 2007, and then I saw all of the features and I got fascinated. I said, no, I think this is what I want to do. I mean, so I started with that, and so I became known with Microsoft Exchange to the extent people used to call me doctor and all of that, because what I actually wanted to do while I was in school was to read medicine. So I guess when I couldn't read medicine, I ended up reading electrical engineering. So when I came out and I was into IT, then I decided, okay, I'm going to bring all of those passions that I wanted to use in medicine into Microsoft technology, specifically the Microsoft Exchange. So I started my journey with that. So that was how I started my journey. And then it's been quite a challenge. I will be truthful about that, but it has been very, very rewarding, you know. And then what happens next is that I have this passion of always trying, even when I've been young, always trying to, teach or to carry people along. I remember when I was in school, I would gather people and then I would say, okay, let me tell you what I've just learned. And then we'll start talking. So immediately I got into IT, I decided to, try to mentor, train people, try to say, I'm also an MCT, Microsoft Certified Trainer, you know. So I decided to train people, and then I started to start talking, teaching, and all of that. Then it also came a time when Shay is the name of the guy. Yeah, Shay is the name of the guy. He's actually the regional head for the MCT in Nigeria and around West Africa. So he called and he said, can we do something? Can we have user groups for each of these technology that we teach? And then we start mentoring people, because we saw a gap in Nigeria. And one of the gap is this: when people come out from school, they are not job ready, you know.
Right.
You find out that organizations are not really willing to, how will I put it, to invest in anyone, to say, oh, they want to train you and all of that. And that was a huge gap. So we started up with community works. We started creating user group. We have the user group from Microsoft 365, which happens to lead. We have another for Power BI. We have another for Power Platform, you know, and then we started with that and started training students, go to schools, higher institution, university, train them, and then we hold meetups and all of that. So that started. Then it became noticeable that all of these people in IT that we've been training has been guys. So where are the females? That was an an issue. So we started seeing that there is a low gap. I mean, there's a huge gap, really, not low. You know, there's a huge gap between the guys in IT and the ladies. So I look back at what was my own experience. I knew how the very first time for my very first Microsoft Exchange deployment that I had to travel outside Lagos to another state. And then I met the IT manager, and then in just seeing me face to face, because we'll be talking on the phone, seeing me face to face, and I wanted to say, hi, good afternoon, my name is Olajumoke. My hand was just left hanging because it was like expecting a guy. So, you know, I remember what I went through. I remember throughout the project period, it was more of, even when I was doing something right, it was more of, even when it is glaring that everything was working, it was just more of criticism, you know, the male ego and all of that. But then, so I looked at this, I said, could it be this is the problem with some of these females? So I teamed up with a very good friend that I call a sister from another mother, Olajumoke Toriola. She's actually a very dear person to me. So we co-founded the TechStylers together. And what the TechStylers is about is a community of ladies who have I would say, a very important superpower, And what we try to do here is that we try to use technology skills to solve the real life problems. And then our focus really is in supporting women who desire to grow in technology. And what we've done with TechStylers is that it's not only in Nigeria. TechStylers is actually worldwide. So we have volunteers around the world. From Ireland, we have volunteers from Australia, from India, from
Awesome.
from US, all around the world, to assist us. And what we do is just to support women who has a desire to have their career in technology. We help these women to define a career path. We help them to be confident to demonstrate their wealth of knowledge. We also help women to define their tech path and also to sharpen the skills. And also we create a platform for already established women to empower and mentor upcoming women in the technology. So what we do is this. We have like a tech group also inside the TechStylers. So we have tech mentors. Tech mentors are already people that we feel are already established, and they are very skilled in specific technologies,
Right.
So we have tech mentors there, and then so they do what is called a tech deep dive every Saturday for each of those females. And we are over 500 female. We started last year, and we're over 500 female, and it's really growing. So we have a lot of support from women around the world, people like Sherry, people like Mitchell, Wong, I mean, a lot of people across the globe are just helping to make sure that this female, so it's not specific to Nigeria alone. So we're just trying to see that, to close that gap, because when I look at the statistics recently, you have like 25 to 27% of women are actually in IT. And those 25 to 27%, some of them are even considering, once they marry or they give birth, that's the end of IT. So you find them doing something as, specifically. So it's a real concern. So that's what TechStylers is just a little bit about. I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a crazy story, especially that you mentioned the first time you went on site with the client and he just left you hanging. He didn't even shake your hand. He's just like, "Where's the gentleman I was speaking to?" It's like, wait, no, that's terrible. Like, I mean, I can understand being surprised but that's a terrible response on his half. So I love the inspiration you found in that.
Yeah, but we later became very close friends, because afterwards, after I finished the deployment there, I had series of other opportunities to go back there and still deploy,
Okay.
So I was just able to manage him. And then, and then up to, I mean, as that last 2 months, he still called, we have a very good relationship.
That's
even
good.
with his family now, He was just expecting, he's a guy, because if you don't put a face,
Right.
if you don't put a face to my voice, you will actually think he's a guy you'll be speaking with. So it's like, no, this who is, So it was quite funny. And then I think
a couple of things like that that I just want to throw in there. One, thank you for all your work. Jay and I both have daughters, so I mean that's something that I think about a lot. Is like, what is she going to experience growing up, and trying to remove those roadblocks. But the other thing that I have found as a man in IT, when I work with a lady, because she's had to go through all the hurdles that, like you explained, nobody expects her to do anything. There's not that many. They tend to be really, really good.
Exactly. We're very detailed.
Yes.
So I have never had a problem working with a lady in IT. I've always been like, oh, I better step up my game because I know she's going to bring it. So
there you go.
Yeah. That's great.
Man. And then, so the work you're doing with TechStylers is awesome, and I like that it's bringing in a variety of experiences, not just local people, but you mentioned Australia and the United States and countries around the world. So it's nice to see people from engaging all over the world to try and help solve these kinds of problems. I agree with Craig. Like, trying to provide my daughter with examples of, I don't care what she does. She can be a dancer, or she can be a stay-at-home mom, or she can be in IT, or she can be in construction. like just trying to help her have examples. In fact, this week they're doing a study. She's in third grade. They're doing a study right now on women who make an impact around the world in her third grade class. So she's all excited. She's got these books called She Persisted, and then another one, She Persisted Around the World, and so it's a couple dozen women from around the world who have made big impacts. So she's bringing those books into class to share them with her classmates. So it's good to see people building women up. Yeah.
That's a good one. I really like to hear that.
Yeah.
That's a good
Well,
one.
thank you.
Thank you. So this is supposed to be a teams podcast. Jay, should we should we talk a little bit about teams, and then
Okay.
and some of the things that you've seen specifically in Nigeria that we might not have seen in the United States. Yeah. So sorry,
You got this,
lost
Craig.
your thoughts. Anything you'd like to? I know when we were talking earlier, you had a lot to say about teams and how you like to see it used. So can you talk a little bit about your personal experiences with teams and the features and things about it that you like the most?
Okay, so for me, maybe because all my life, I would say all my life, not because I didn't do a little bit of Cisco, or maybe I didn't do a little bit of softwares and all of that, but I mean, I'll say I'm a core Microsoft person, and so when Teams was still, how will I put it, starting from live servers, was still Office communication server to Skype for Business. And then when it became Microsoft Teams, I've always used it. And one of the features in Microsoft Teams really that I love so much is the meeting. I love the features of the Microsoft meeting. I mean, the Teams meeting.
Sure.
The fact that it actually help people, organization to collaborate easily, and then the ease with which one can express themselves. You feel, the options you have, and with the new enhancement that has come in, starting from the together mode and the noise cancellation or suppression mode. I love a lot of them, and then the dynamic content sharing and all of that with PowerPoint. So I love Microsoft Teams meeting. I actually used to tell myself that when it comes to things like, because I've worked with a couple of Skype for Business and then integrate it with telephoning and all of that. So I like a bit of the calling aspect of it, what you could do with it then. But I just don't know. I think of recent, starting from December, probably maybe just watching what happened on the MVP, the M365 pitch deck that Jeremy and one other person did. I just fell in love with meetings. I couldn't just stop looking at, oh, these are cool things with Microsoft Teams meeting. So that's one of the things. So
with Teams meetings, we've got video chat right now, which 15 years ago, the idea of having video chat on every desk was a pipe dream. I remember back 15, 20 years ago thinking that video chat meant having a really expensive phone with a desk phone with a camera, and everyone needed to have that same desk phone. But here we are. I'm on my laptop. We've got video chat. I've got the transcript running so I can get the chat later on. We've got custom backgrounds on two of us. Like you mentioned noise cancellation. We were playing with noise cancellation with a coworker, and his wife was making a smoothie in the background, and then the noise cancellation got turned on, and the smoothie sound just went away completely. It was like he stopped the blender completely. The technology in meetings is insane. It from where we thought it would be to where it actually is. Like, it blows my mind.
Exactly. And I think Microsoft is doing a very fantastic job, with the succession of the updates and then that are coming in every time. You just find something new. First, it was a 3x7 meeting view. Now it's a 7x7. Now you have even beyond 7x7. You have 49. it just keeps changing, and then you have all of those cool features with it. I like the fact that of the notification also to remind me, oh, your meeting is about, those notifications that you get often. So I love a lot of things around the Microsoft Teams meeting. And then I think for me, when one showcase those new features is actually what, oh, you mean Microsoft Teams can do this? I mean, you mean you can do this, And maybe I'm biased. I stand to be corrected, but each time I'm using Teams, I just find my way I find it very difficult getting around Zoom. I don't know why. I just find it very difficult getting around Zoom. But when I'm with Teams, I'm so comfortable. I mean, it's just like I go in there and then do what I want to do, and then it's fine.
Yeah, and so you mentioned that Skype for Business had a lot of adoption in Nigeria. So when Teams came around, it was a little bit easier for that transition, right?
Yeah, so it was a little bit easier because if I can tell you today that I have a lot of the banks. I mean, so I'll say something. They have a lot of the banks using Microsoft Teams, at least for their chats and meeting. Though you still have a lot of, you still have some few people still going through using Zoom, probably maybe for things. And I think that boils down to adoption really, and then knowing how to really educate your users in knowing how they can fare well using the Microsoft Teams. But so the transition from Skype for Business to Microsoft Teams was a lot easier because people were familiar with Skype for Business. I saw a lot of a huge use of Microsoft Teams in Nigeria. So when it was time, I mean, Microsoft Skype for Business, but so when it was time for Teams, that transition was also very cool. And then one other thing that I'll say accelerated that adoption is the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic came in and it forced everyone of us to work remotely. So Microsoft also given the option for you to use the Teams, Microsoft Teams exploratory version and all of that. A lot of organizations just wanted to get their users onboarded, wanted to get their users started working and all of that. So they embraced the use of Teams. And I think that was one of the things that drove the adoption of Teams in Nigeria that made that happen.
That seemed like a worldwide thing. I think we talked about it before. Like, people, organizations, governments, law firms, things like that never had any intention of going to the cloud for 5 years are now there, and all of a sudden they're going, well, what else can we bring to the cloud? It's not just getting the Teams that's great. When we were kind of setting this up, you were talking about what I liked was your approach to onboarding your users, and making sure that you explain to them why they needed to do certain things and targeting them. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because I thought that was pretty cool.
All right, so that's great. So because the adoption was more of, the drive to get your users onboarded easily, real quickly, was a need for almost every organization during the pandemic. How do we communicate? How do we do meetings? Now that everything has been reduced from working from home. There is no physical meeting and all of that. So, okay, this is what we need to use. Some people were using Skype. Some were using Google Meet. I think I used Google Meet once. I've never used it. So even getting around it was quite, so I used it just one, and that once is when I've used it. I've not used Google Meet yet after that. Yeah. So then people were using Zoom. And then, so one of the things I would say that in trying to make people to adopt Microsoft Teams was what we try to do as an organization, because we had to help a lot of our customers then, is to do a lot of workshop on Microsoft Teams. And there was this Microsoft Accelerator program, I think, that was going on, that the Microsoft was trying to, you could do things on Microsoft things. We participated a lot in that. So driving your message to the right audience during a team adoption workshop or program is actually the key thing for me, to drive the adoption. So what message are you giving to giving the right message to the right audience will actually help them. So I give an example. I'm in front of someone now trying to, maybe as a department, because what we do is that for each of the organization, we group the users into groups and say, okay, probably maybe for legal, we meet with legal today and then take them through a workshop of what Microsoft Teams is about. So the message I'm giving to someone in legal is different from what I'll be giving to someone in the sales department in the use of Teams. So for me, talking to someone in the sales department, that, okay, for you to adopt and use Teams, do you know what Teams can do for you? You can easily reach your customers, do meeting, one-on-one meeting, video calls, and then also help to close your deals. If you want to do a video call face-to-face so that your customer sees, I'm going to be telling that person. When I'm talking to someone that is legal, I would be, or somebody that is in risk or compliance, I will be talking about Teams governance with that person. I will be more on that aspect with that fellow. Then when I'm talking to someone like a developer, because of recent, I had an opportunity to talk with and like I said, we have a lot of communities in Nigeria that we have. So we have this Nigeria Azure DevOps user group. And then they sent for me and asked me that I should come speak. And I told them, yes, I agree, I'm an MVP, but I'm an MVP on Office Apps and Services. Then they said, no, just come and say something, even if it's on Azure. So I thought about it. I said, okay, Teams is what I know. So what can I use? How can I communicate Teams to DevOps engineer or developers that I want to talk to? So I decided to take a topic and call it Teaming Up with the Azure DevOps. So I started with, every one of you today, what you will be using will be Slack, really, to do a lot of your collaboration. That's your collaboration tool. But this is what you can do within Teams. And I showed them how they can create a Teams channel, a team in the Microsoft team, create the channels for their planning phase, for the iteration phases, for all of the phases, the business development. And then they can bring everyone together, and then how they can onboard the apps like the DevOps, the GitHub, and all of those, bring all of those applications together from within Teams and bring in their pipelines, their repository, their repos, and all of that. And then they saw it, they said, I said, no, I don't write any line of code, but this is what I'm giving to my guys back in the office. So this is, and then I started, please, we didn't know Microsoft Things can do this. Do you really mean Microsoft Things can do this? And then one person called me, another person called me, please, I don't mind if you have to put us through all over again. Teach me, I want to go and deploy this for my organization. So I felt very, very fine, because so my own, when it comes to you talking about Microsoft Teams, first of all, know your audience. And then that can help you drive the conversation around adoption more easily. I want to know if it is a banking environment or an environment with data sensitivity. Sharing is very sensitive. I know how to pitch Microsoft Teams to them so that they will be able to, embrace and start using it. So I hardly see any of my customers, really, to be honest, that are not using Microsoft Teams very well because of the way we carry the onboarding process with them, especially when we have to take them through the workshop. So I feel that is one of the key things that a lot of people are lacking when it comes to onboarding people for Microsoft Teams. So it's one thing for you to bring them in, is another thing for them to adopt and consume it. So you want to show them in depth how they should use Microsoft Teams in their daily life, really. And then you'll be amazed with what people tell you or what people can do with Microsoft Teams. To be honest, almost every day I get to learn something new. Yesterday, I learned something new in Teams. I was just like, oh, cool, this is fine. I've not seen it before. What someone was trying to show me on, using the PowerShell to automate the creation of the Teams channel. I watched it some time ago, but now how you can use Power Automate to do what? To do the request, the automation, the provisioning, and all of that. That was a very cool thing. And that happened to be that my sister that I'm talking about, Foyin Olajide, when she showed me, I said, no, this is cool. I love this. I think I want to take this up also, So, I mean, it's a very cool thing when you come to use it. I mean,
yeah, I think that your approach to adoption is one of the best approaches I've heard. At AvePoint, we've done a bunch of workshops for the art of the possible of teams, and we've tried to do like government focused and banking focused. But I think the taking that training to the end user focused on, you're a DevOps shop. Let's talk about deployment phases and how you can build them out. Or you're a bank. Let's talk about the data security side and the governance of your workspaces. I think it's an amazing approach. It's absolutely the right way to make people listen because you're making it relevant directly to them. So I'm excited to hear that you're doing that. And that you're working with your customers to make sure that they understand, hey, this is how you should be approaching it, to help drive the use of the tool, because otherwise, why are we spending all this money rolling it out and upgrading our licenses and encouraging people to do this if we're not using it in a way that makes sense to us?
Exactly. Yeah, that is awesome. Because, as you both said, what I often see is that blanket approach. Well, this is how you create a team. This is how you put files. This is how you send messages, which helps. They need to do that, but why do they need to do that? The why behind how we do things is very important for user adoption.
Yeah, exactly. The with him, the what's in it for me, right?
Yeah,
you got to tie it to that person and their interests and their needs.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's we talked about meetings and the technology there, and we talked about adoption. Ola, I don't think we had a wrap up for this session, but let me ask you, if you were looking at teams and you were looking at the use of teams in Nigeria, what would be the number one item on your wish list? I'm going to put you on the spot. I didn't prepare you for this at all. What would be the number one item on your wish list to make teams better for Nigerians?
Okay, so one of the things I'll say is this. Apart from the governance, the control that should be with teams, because really, I've seen cases. We had a show a few weeks ago, and some people were asking me, "Oh, can we use our planning services for you to come take us through?" Because he's an EA, the person in question is an EA customer. Can we use this tool in terms of governance? Because we have a lot of, yes, they embrace teams quite all right, maybe because of when the pandemic, but a lot of organizations right now, I can confidently say that a lot of them are facing the biggest issue of and challenge with Teams Pro,
Teams Pro, yeah.
Yeah, right. So there a lot of that because people just wanted to get work done. But you have in getting work done, because there's no understanding around the external sharing, there's no understanding around creating the right content or even creating teams and all of that. You just find out that people just create a lot of teams, so you have a lot of teams all over the places, and you're like, wow, what's happening here? What's going on here? So governance is one of the things, and then for me, secondly, is data. We don't have the luxury of the data you guys have over there, in terms of internet, we don't have that. So I get one of the drawbacks I have seen that a lot of people have made complaint to me about is that Teams is quite heavy than Zoom. But I know there's been a lot of improvements. And when people come to me, most of the times what I tell them is that, okay, so let's pause there. What is Zoom doing? What is Teams doing? Don't look at Teams just like a chat or a video tool for you. It is much more than that. It's a platform. So because Teams is a platform where you can build a lot of things on it, peradventure what you're building on it or the use of your teams, and then maybe because of what you want to makes it now looks like it's a slow, but it is not so much like how will I put it, the data stuff is a concern in Nigeria, quite all right, so I know that. And then when they said it is bandwidth or internet consuming and all of that, I can understand that really, but in what let's put it in the right perspective. What are we using Teams for? Because Teams is a platform for me. That's what I see it as. It's not just a tool for me to do chat and then do video calls. I mean, I build a lot of things on Teams. I mean, Teams is like an up for me when I want to onboard my new hires. Integrating it with the Power Virtual Agent, I can do my bots with it. So it's much more than that. Integrating it with the planner, I mean, I can manage my projects and all of that. So those are some of the things I tell people when they talk about that. So I don't know. I think I'll still plead if Microsoft can make it a little bit bandwidth friendly.
Bandwidth
I think
friendly.
we need
Yep.
that a lot. Yes.
Yeah,
for
I believe
Microsoft.
we're working on that, but
Yes, Craig, there's so much to be done. So I think that's the only thing. So in driving that, once that can be, I guess a lot of people can feel more comfortable with it. I mean, I'll say it's not really bad because 70 to 30, so adoption of Teams in Nigeria, I would say is 70 and 30%, but I would rather want to see a 90% adoption as against the 70 in Nigeria.
Just wait. I'm guessing there's going to be a Teams Lite eventually that will just be a video and chat app.
Interesting. Huh. I don't know how I feel about that,
for
Greg.
business. Sorry. Sort of like Skype for business, but I don't know. That was a joke. Sorry.
Well, Ola, Craig, this has been a lot of fun. I'm excited to take your conversation about adoption and start sharing that. I wrote down, for me, I wrote down a takeaway when it comes to talking about Microsoft Teams. Make sure you know your audience. Is it a banking environment focused on data sensitivity, a DevOps team focused on deployment phases? I think if I can take that to my teams and my consultants and start having them think that way, I think it's going to be really beneficial. So thank you.
Yes.
Welcome.
And yes, I'll drink to lower bandwidth teams. Everyone, it's not something we worry about on a daily basis. In fact, I have a group of friends that on a regular basis share our connection speeds to show how incredible the towers are near us or whatever. But you're right. I think from a global consensus, bandwidth is still a problem in a lot of places. So I'd love to see some features around that.
Oh, we get also the usage occasionally. I hear how much RAM it takes. So if we could just take a slice out of the CPU, then that would be helpful too. But
exactly, because most times I don't feel it. My system most times I'm using it. I mean, the two laptops I use, one is 64 gig, the other is 32 gig. So probably maybe sometimes I don't really feel what So when people come to me, they're like, okay. I get it. So I'll now try to now go simulate the environment, and then so I see that as a problem. But I would say, if I have to be honest, when it was, there's been some improvement really around the bandwidth. Wasn't the earlier days when Teams came, there was a lot of complaints around bandwidth.
Yes.
Right now,
they have made a bunch of improvements on that. The team is always working.
Well, Ola, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your wisdom and for your community service. I really appreciate all that you're doing there. For sharing with us, two guys from the US who are unrelated completely to everything you do. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. We really appreciate it. Great talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor, and I would say it's great talking to you guys also. And I'm glad whatever knowledge I can share, it's out there. I'm glad to share it. Thank you guys for the time.
Of course.
Thank you. The honor was all of us.
Yeah. you.